2020 has been a wild year for everyone, but looking away from the obvious, let's take a look at some of the great and weird things that have come out of the world of tech. First, let's talk about some of the big wigs in tech. AMD, Intel, Nvidia, Apple, because we got some amazing products from each of them respectively. From AMD this year, we got two new lines of CPUs, one of them being only mobile and was quickly overshadowed, this being the 4000 series CPUs. The second being the 5000 series CPUs, which cast huge waves across the industry, quickly becoming some of the best CPUs on the market, and not just for their great price, but their actual usability too. I mean, that's if you can get a hold of one at MSRP. Another thing that came out of AMD this year was the 6000 series GPUs, which they had boasted as the forefront of extreme engineering and design. Making use of the GDDR6 memory, they were good GPUs, and got them more onto the playing field of graphics in general, but still ended up not meeting the competition. Their competition being Nvidia, the 30 series GPUs. These bad boys, second generation of the RTX architecture, designed with beautiful graphics and extreme computation in mind, bringing DLSS 2 and ray tracing into the light. The idea of these two things when they originally came out in the last generation of RTX were interesting, but ended up not being up to stuff at the end of the day. In some cases, they actually brought down the quality, if changing anything at all. But some of these cards are even using the next generation of graphical memory called GDDR6 and are just mind-blowing. They're very powerful, and they're, again, almost impossible to get your hands on at MSRP, so good luck to you there. In other news regarding Nvidia, we had the acquisition of ARM, a processor company that made a good number of Apple's mobile CPUs prior to the M1 processors made by Apple Silicon. What this acquisition means remains to be seen, but we can expect great things, I think, seeing as that both companies individually had some major successes in the past, but only time will tell. From Intel, we saw two generations of CPU, iSeries 10th gen and some of the newest 11th gen chips. The latter is something that is just starting to come out, so I can't say much about it. But as far as the 10th gen chips go, I feel like they left something to be desired for gamers and heavy compute applications. But hey, I mean, if you can get your hands on any silicon this year, it's a good chip, and it'll treat you right, because Intel still makes good products, even if they could do better if they thought more about the consumer's needs. Other than CPUs, Intel has actually done a lot for the development of 5G across the world and has contributed a lot to autonomous vehicles too, so there's a lot to be said for Intel right now. Alright, coming up next to bat, we have Apple, who came in with something that they're calling the M1. These little CPUs are toting a powerful package in a small 5nm process. This chip follows the big small core methodology with 4 high performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. So 5 cores that are meant for like big powerful processes, and then 4 that are just meant for when you're cruising the web or watching a couple videos. They're not going to take up a lot of power. 10 watts. Because of this, it sips power for long durations of time. The iMac Pro claiming to stay browsing the web wirelessly for up to 17 hours. These chips have an integrated GPU running on 8 cores and a throughput of 2.6 teraflops, which is pretty wild for an integrated chip. These would outperform AMD's RX 560s and Nvidia's 1050 Ti's, but it still doesn't come close to touching the modern GPUs that are 10 plus teraflops. But still, as far as an integrated graphics goes, that's a lot to boast in such a small package. I mean, they're calling these chips an entire system on one chip, and I can see why. With the processor, the I/O, security, memory, and GPU all in one convenient location. Moving away from some of the big chip production companies, let's take a look at the consoles that came out this year, the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. Both of these companies opted for AMD processors and GPUs this time around, each fitted with console customized RDNA GPUs and customized Zen 2 CPUs. For the first time in history, you could get a console with specs that you couldn't even get for PC, and that alone is noteworthy. Even more so than that, console gamers can now see 120 frames per second, 4K definitions, and amazing speeds because both consoles are using solid-state storage as well, so load times are basically a thing of the past. These consoles are, technically speaking, almost identical, so at the end of the day, it comes down to preference. I can't say which is better than the other, but Microsoft and Sony both did amazing jobs here with the help of AMD on their side, so it's really up to you. In some wild news, we saw the fast food chain KFC announce a gaming console for some ungodly reason. Otherwise, this thing is known as the KF console, made by the company Cooler Master, and they have a literal chicken frying console. It's actually a computer. The processor in this thing is an i9 9th gen NUC unit, and it'll have a hot swappable Asus made GPU and 2 Seagate Barracuda 2TB SSDs. So I don't know what we're actually going to see here when it does get released, but it's going to be insanely powerful. And this is all just scratching the surface. I mean, we've also seen the release of DDR5 RAM coming out. There's SK Hynix buying all of Intel's NAND flash memory units, and huge lawsuits all around, from Epic Games to Apple to Epic Games to the US versus Google and Facebook. But there's all sorts of things going on right now, and it's been a crazy year, but technology has just excelled. But let me know what you think the highlights of this year for tech was. What brought you up? What brought you down? Did anything give you hope for the year to come? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, like this video if you did, and be sure to catch me on Tuesdays and Sundays for my weekly live streams here. Otherwise, my name is Waylon, and this is XethaPCs. Thank you, and I hope you have a great night.